Good morning. My name is Chris Binion. I'm the Director of Global Augmented Execution Systems at Thermo Fisher Scientific. I want to thank you for spending your time this morning as we roll out some really phenomenal work that we've been doing in digital transformation, especially around the mixed reality space. Mandy Bossi, our President of Drug Products for North America, extends her deepest regret for not being able to be here. She's currently away dealing with the coronavirus contingency planning for Thermo Fisher, ensuring that our drugs make it out to our patients in a safe and effective manner. So I'd like to start off this morning with a quote. "Give ordinary people the right tools, and they will design and build the most extraordinary things." So I believe that people, when empowered, are capable of doing truly extraordinary things. The dedicated people on our shop floors making drugs to help heal and cure the world do some pretty amazing things. Since the beginning of the pharma age, we have been giving them batch records, SOPs. The tool set has stayed the same. At my home, I am a master at doing home repair. I love doing home repair, fixing things around the house, figuring out how to do new things. It's very exciting to me. And my wife will tell you that I'm probably one of the best people around the house to fix things. And I'm imbued with a superpower that allows me to be a great repairman around my house. That is called YouTube. And I don't know about you, but many of us use YouTube. We follow YouTube, we watch videos, and we learn how to do things that normally we don't know how to do. And it instills in us the ability to do things and to try things that we never would have done before. The purpose of our program is how do we instill within our people the superpowers to do extraordinary things? How do we give them all the tools they need at their fingertips, at the point of use, where they need it, when they need it? So our story begins in Industry 1.0 with the Industrial Revolution, the place where we began going from manual labor to more mass production and empowering and utilizing things like steam and water power in order to drive our processes forward. And it became less about manual labor and more about automation. Now, fast forward to the second Industrial Revolution and the advent of electricity, and we truly began having mass production. At the same time, assembly lines came into play with interchangeable parts and standardization of the process. This standardization then led to the Industry 3.0, where we began using automation to equip our equipment with the ability to run unsupervised or with minimal supervision. Again, standardization and reproducibility greatly increase here. For the first time, there is information coming into the equation. The internet allows collaboration and information sharing on a global scale. And now here we are at the precipice of Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. But I would submit to you that we're not actually at the fourth industrial revolution. We are at the digital revolution, the place where technology begins to connect equipment and data and analytics together for cognitive computing, artificial intelligence. And we go to this place where we are no longer being reactive, but we're being predictive. Predictive maintenance, predictive problems, the equipment telling us when something is moving out of trend or out of compliance so that we can act ahead of the problems that might be occurring. And this is the place where quality, efficiency, and productivity are greatly improved, and errors and waste are diminished. And in this place, global connectivity and data optimization allow us to look at our problems and begin to work through our problems on a global scale. So really, this digital revolution, this Industry 4.0, is a quantum leap forward, but not in how we interact with our equipment, but rather how we utilize the data that is produced from our equipment to be more proactive instead of reactive. What is the problem that we're really trying to solve? Procedural noncompliance It's been the #1 most frequent 483 over the past 3 years. And actually, if you look at the bar chart on the right, you can see that it has increased year over year, percentage-wise, over all the 483 observations. 29% of all observations revolve around procedural noncompliance. The ability for an employee follow the SOPs. We began looking at this procedural noncompliance and began looking at what really can we do to help the employees be successful. We began looking at utilizing technology and giving them the correct tool set when they need it. And so we developed a vision for our program. How do we make it easy for employees to be successful? How do we prevent them from making wrong choices? How do we prevent them from going down the wrong path, from making errors that normally they would not have made? How do we help them in training so that their training is more effective? How do we reduce the amount of training up front and more standardization along the way so that they are constantly empowered for success? How do we remove the roadblocks out of their way? Well, so we came up with 2 ways that we thought that we could do that. The first one is to educate and to work with the people, to enhance their ability to execute by providing them tools that they need to ensure performance. So this may be something in the line of a holographic guide or an overlay or a video or a picture or a schematic or a work aid. But how do we provide them all the tools they need in their toolbox at the point of use so that they can be successful? The second thing is, how do we help them make the right choices? How do we reduce the risk associated with human errors from complex, incomplete, or unclear process steps? How are we empowering them so that when they come onto the job, they know exactly what they're doing, they know exactly why they're doing it, they are looking at the quality culture? So we began looking at a variety of tools that would get us there. So as we began looking at the spectrum of tools available to us to help our employees, and we began looking at virtual, augmented, and mixed reality. And I'm going to kind of go through these real quick, and I'm also going to talk about the 4 programs that we are using. So first, let's talk about virtual reality. Virtual reality is a place where people are completely disconnected from the real world. It's a place where we can create a risk-free virtual environment for training and engaging with products and tools. The second is augmented reality, and this is simply a layer of data that is presented to you without the context of the real world. So in mixed reality, we actually use spatial mapping to map out an area in 3D and then place an overlay in that area in context. So for example, we can see the location of things and map holographic overlays and breadcrumb trails to lead people to the right place. Lay out a 5S map of the area so that they can quickly identify which wrench is the correct wrench for this step of the process. We can look at things like hand tracking and some other technology to see if people are really doing the process correctly. So these are things that are currently being built in our toolbox. So in the 4 buckets that we are using, the first is guides. And in this one, we create detailed instructions with data presenting analytics controls for the human interface. The second is remote assist. So out on the shop floor, people often feel disconnected or that they can't ask questions. With remote assist, a SME or management is always within reach. Telepresence, the third tool, some local tools that we are building that will allow us to map out the area, to map out how people interact in that area, and to give them tools, for example, AI, machine learning, so that people can move in the space and we can help track them and help them to be successful. I would like to just spend a couple minutes and let you see a video from Microsoft about guides.
Work today is more complicated than ever. The old ways of training cannot get new employees up to speed as fast as the experienced people are retiring. We need a better way forward. Introducing Dynamics 365 guides. Simple step-by-step instructions are easily written on a PC, and then holographic parts and icons are simply picked up and placed on the machine where the work is happening. From day one, employees are often expected to get work done, but the complexity can be overwhelming. Now, employees can learn by doing. This is a tool that works with existing processes, allowing a manager to get the right guides to their people. The instructions move with the employees, pointing them to the tools and parts they need, showing them exactly where they need to apply them. Employees get up to speed faster, with fewer errors and more confidence. A simple glance moves them through the instructions, meaning their hands are free to do the work. They can learn at their own pace without having to rely on other workers around them. The overall experience is comfortable and intuitive. For the first time, a manager can see detailed information about how the employees are working and how their skills are growing. This makes continuous improvement faster than ever before. All of this helps employees make the complex simple, so they can learn and adapt faster and organizations can stay competitive.
So now I'm showing you a mock-up of one of our mixed reality training and what guides looks like actually in the pharma environment. So this was produced by using a camera called a Matterport scanner. We were able to scan the room in just about 30 minutes. This was sent to graphic artists, which in about 8 hours they were able to render the room. And then we have Microsoft guides actually running in the room. So what you would see as an operator looking through their eyes, this is your space. To the right, you can see the blue box that's giving you your instructions and all the tools that you would need at your fingertips. This helps the operator see where they're at in space and also to be successful. So as we connect this up to a manufacturing execution system with an electronic batch record, there are some superpowers that I want to show you that we are building that we're very excited about for the future. So this is example of a way out that we are just doing for a mock-up. So the step here is step 4.2, weigh 1 kilogram plus or minus 0.1 of magnesium sulfate, lot A203208. So in this example, the first thing that we would check is the operator. So with the HoloLens glasses, they have the biometric features of having iris detection. So once the user is logged in, whenever they put the glasses on, it automatically logs them into our system using their irises. In this instance, when the user who is performing this step goes to execute the step, if they're not trained, immediately it would let them know that they are not qualified and they could not even perform this step. So we envision this going back to in our company success factors and checking the qualification of an analyst and then returning back and saying, yep, they're qualified and ready to receive. Now, the next thing that we would look at would be the balance, and or the scale, and we would say, okay, the scale, let's go back and look at our system Maximo. Is this scale qualified? Is it calibrated? Is everything proper with it? If it is, then it would return the status of being active, and then we could move on to the next step, which is this the correct material for the batch? So here you can see a QR code on our fiber drum. It would go back, look at SAP, check the step versus the batch record and say, yep, this is indeed the correct material. Holographic check mark appears on the material and says, yep, now we can move forward because this is the correct material. Now, as we move forward with this, we're going to assume that this is an IoT connected balance that is able to get live readings from the scale directly into the manufacturing execution system and being displayed for our analysts. So they put their first scoop in, and now you can see a live readout showing them that they have weighed out 0.23 kilograms. And the bar chart begins to fill up on the right. Second scoop, 0.57, again continues filling up. And finally, they are now inside of the specification range, plus or minus 0.1. They're at 0.98, and notice that the confirm light has now appeared, showing our operator that they are within specification, and now they can take the reading. So when we look at what this kind of looks like on a large scale, here you can see our framework for Pharma 4.0. And at the very center, the brains of our whole operation is our manufacturing execution system. And connected to that manufacturing execution system is our enterprise systems, SAP, Maximo, SuccessFactors, etc. All of these provide data for the manufacturing execution system to give it the information that it needs in order to answer questions when interrogated. So here you can see IoT streaming data back into the MES and also using that data to power artificial intelligence, machine learning, and continuous process verification. So when we look at guides, which is the showcase of today's talk, all of these other things are currently in development. But guides, however, we have begun rolling out for things such as maintenance, equipment setup. What you're going to see now is what we call the DynaDrive. This is one of the pieces of equipment that Thermo Fisher makes for our biologics unit. And this is a step-by-step process that we put together. This is a mixed reality training. And so you will be able to see our mixed reality training as well as the Microsoft guides. So there you just saw the video of one of our guides built around a mixed reality piece of equipment that could easily be used for training. If the equipment were not there, then this could simply be used for, that would be the holographic overlays for the setup and the process out on the shop floor. So what does success look like? So quantitatively, we've been looking at things like error reduction, batch rejection reduction, time to productivity increased training effectiveness, and reduced attrition. So I'm going to talk about these just real quick. The use of guides helps us to calibrate the individuals on the correct order and the correct process, and it gives them all the tools that they need at their fingertips. We simplify that process, and in doing so, we reduce the number of errors. So you just saw a video of one of our guides. Now this could be used again for mixed reality training, or it could be used for the actual operation itself out on the shop floor. What if we could help people by giving them the tools they need to make the right choices because it's clear every step along the way? And what if we embed training into this so that it is more effective? You see, here's what tends to happen is we spend a lot of time and energy up front with traditional training methods. And then when people are trained, the further that they get from that point of training, the further that they deviate from the standard. Now this is true for everyone. That's why that we put periodic training in place to recalibrate people back to the standard. And then, of course, time goes on, they begin moving away from the standard, and we recalibrate again. And this process goes on and on and on, over and over again. Constant retraining, constant calibration, constant retraining to get people back to standard. However, when we look at what we can do with guides, every time that they use guides, we embed the training into the process so that they are recalibrated every time that they run the procedure to the standard. So what this means is less training up front, less retraining, and more standardized, consistent results. Therefore, we will have fewer errors of the process. And also with that error reduction comes batch rejection reduction because people were following the procedure as it was written. So one of the things that we have found as we looked at a couple of the guides in our early pilots was the ability to standardize on a better process. We did a waste analysis and found that people were doing a lot of walking and searching. So we were able to put things like 5S in place and some of the other operational efficiencies. And what this did is this allowed us to standardize our process on a much cleaner, more effective, and more efficient process. So several studies have been done on the technology that shows that for the next generation, the average time at a company is about 18 months. But the use of augmented and virtual reality sometimes doubles or even triples that amount of time for people inside the pharmaceutical industry. So when we look at our traditional methods of training compared to the guides and employ this out in the shop floor, will help us to reduce attrition and attract the best talent. I want to share with you a case study. So our process engineering team in Global Tech Ops was able to go and help one of our sites in Toronto from Raleigh. Normally, we would not have sent our SME up for this project. But because they had a HoloLens there and they were using a remote assist, they were able to just spend 2 hours working with the operators on the floor. And in doing so, they were able to get their productivity up by 42%. Now, this is very important, not just from a productivity standpoint, but now our SME effectiveness skyrockets, right? So instead of the SME getting on a plane, flying to Toronto, going on site, getting a room, flying back the next day, and only being able to help one site and one person, in just a couple hours, they were able to help this site. That means that they had more opportunities throughout the day to help numerous sites fix their problems. From a quality standpoint, this is huge because this allows us to do virtual Gimbas and virtual walkthroughs and help our employees more effectively by allowing our SMEs to focus where they need to on helping employees be successful. Instead of spending their time in travel, we are helping our employees and our SMEs utilize their expertise and their time more effectively. So what is our strategy for deployment? Well, we started by first centralizing our program. So we have a corporate augmented execution team, my team, and their purpose is to build and to refine this technology and to work with the sites in order to bring this technology for use for them as fast as possible. The second thing that we did is we went out and found strategic partnerships. So we are partners with Microsoft, Rockwell Automation, and a host of other companies to build our process around standards and to standardize the process wherever possible for rapid deployment across our priority assets. So with guides, once we build a guide for a certain piece of equipment, all of the places in our company that would use that piece of equipment, we can now send the guide out immediately and rapidly deploy across our assets across all sites. As we talked about in the previous slide, this allows us to have a strong partnership with our operational excellence team to refine our process and make it more standardized on more of an effective, efficient process. So we began this talk with looking at our strategy surrounding our team. Have we made it easy for employees to be successful? With guides and remote assist and coupling this with things to help them make the right choices and giving them the tools that they need at their fingertips? Yes, we have helped them to become more successful. Have we enhanced their ability to execute by providing them the tools they need? Again, yes. Have we reduced the risk associated with human error from complex, incomplete, or unclear process steps? By simplifying the process and making our training more effective, we have indeed reduced the risk associated with human errors. These three things form the backbone of why we are performing the work that we're doing in virtual and augmented reality. I want to thank you for your time this morning in what we're doing, and I would like to now open up the floor for any questions that you may have.